They say your life flashes before your eyes right before you die. Moments, memories, faces, but for some people, it's not their life that sticks. It's their last sentence, a joke, a protest, a sigh, a few final words that turn fear into something unforgettable. Tonight, we're listening to the final lines that turn death into a punchline. This is famous last words. Most of us don't remember exactly what we'll say at the end, but history has a funny way of keeping receipts, especially when someone exits with style. Oscar Wilde, lying in a shabby Paris hotel, glared at the terrible wallpaper and muttered, "Either that wallpaper goes or I do." He was right. One of them did. A French grammarian, true to form, spent his final breath arguing with himself. I am about to, or I am going to, die. Either expression is correct. Even grammar nerds don't take a day off. Marie Antoinette, seconds before the guillotine, apologized to her executioner for stepping on his foot. "Pardon me, sir. I did not mean to do it." Even at the end, she had better manners than most people in traffic. Then there's Voltaire. That's how you say his name. The eternal smartass. Maybe he's right up my alley. When asked by a priest to renounce the devil, he replied, now, my good man. This is no time to be making enemies." The thing about last words is they're rarely edited. They're unfiltered, unplanned, and completely human. Proof that even when the curtain falls, some of us still want the last laugh. But what happens to those words after they're spoken? In some stories, they don't die at all. They linger. In one English manor, a man's final words were, "I'll never leave this house," and apparently he meant it. Guests say they still see him pacing the upstairs hallway, a ghost keeping his promise little too literally. Out at sea, a sailor's dying words were, "Keep the lantern burning." Decades later, that same ship's lamp, now displayed in a museum, flares to life every year on the anniversary of the wreck. No electricity, no explanation. Just a promise still burning. In a small town in Tennessee, a preacher's last sermon ended mid-sentence with the words, "I'll finish this thought next Sunday." He didn't. But people say if you sit in the empty church after dark, you can hear the same unfinished thought whisper from the pulpit, a voice still trying to wrap up his point. Maybe last words are anchors, little hooks that keep part of us tied to the world, a final echo of who we were, still bouncing between the living and the dead. I think about last words way more than is probably healthy, to be honest. Not in a dramatic way. I'm fascinated by them. Will I say something profound, or will I go out like the guy who said, "Hold my beer, I've got this"? Honestly, if my last words are anything like my text messages, they'll probably be something like, "Wait, what? This might be a bad idea." And maybe that's okay because the best ones aren't planned. They're instinct. People being themselves on the edge of nothing. I love the ones that are funny for all the wrong reasons. Like James W. Rogers, a convicted outlaw, asked for a final request before facing the fire squad. He said, "Yeah, bring me a bulletproof vest." Or actor Humphrey Bogart, who supposedly muttered, "I should have never switched from scotch to martinis." That's not tragic, that's commitment. But I think the one that hits me the hardest isn't witty at all. It's composer Gustav Mahler, who died whispering the name of his wife, just her name, over and over. So whether it's a love letter, a complaint, or a joke about wallpaper, those final words are like fingerprints. Completely unique, completely human. If I ever get remembered for mine, I hope they sound like me, a little curious, a little defiant, and definitely not done talking. And if I don't get to say anything at all, I hope someone just carves on my tombstone, editing this from beyond the grave. A lifetime builds your story, but sometimes one sentence writes it in stone. Last words aren't just echoes, they're the punctuation marks that finish the human sentence. Some end with a period, some with a question mark, and some with a punchline. Until next time, stay curious and always, always stay haunted.